16, 15.
You're live.
Oh, brilliant. I am Maurice. I love people from around the world. Lovely to be here.
Good morning. No, it's good evening for Australia, of course. For welcome everybody.
I should probably go with a g'day. G'day Maurice and g'day people from around the world. That's my best Aussie accent I think I could do at this stage.
Just a few minutes to go, and we will start this webinar.
All right.
Get in the game, rise to a challenge.
Brilliant.
If I look at you, Jerry, do you see me then?
I can. It's a fine profile you put there. I was going to say like a bit like Van Persie for me.
Hi people, you can use the chat to tell us where you're from.
Ah. Hey everyone. Nice to see people coming in. Hello, Lisa from Adelaide. Nice to see you.
Where's that? Adelaide.
Lisa, yep, Adelaide, our hometown. Yeah.
Oh.
Good wife Donna's robbed in, and g'day Rob. Rob Hartnett's here with us, which is fabulous. Australia. Yep, he's from Australia.
We are about to begin in a few minutes. Welcome everybody.
And Darren up there in the Gold Coast. Lovely.
Well, Jerry. Enschede. Can you pronounce that, Jerry? Enschede?
Enschede. Was it close?
Is that correct, Sonia? Enschede?
Enschede. Let's see. Hopefully when I get the score out of 10 for it.
Well, shall we begin, Jerry? Yeah.
Absolutely, mate.
Coming in. Well, who are you, Jerry?
I'm from a boy from a land down under. That's who I am, Maurice. What is it? Travelled all the way from Belfast when I was a kid back in the 70s. Come to the lucky country, as we call it down here. Yeah, new life. Some people think I was sent out here as a convict, but it's not true. Not true at all. And yourself, like, I'm loving this being the opportunity to go global with you. So thank you so much for making it happen, Maurice. So tell us a little bit about you. Didn't I bump into you about 20 years ago?
Well, you're now a friend. You can call me Morris.
Maurice.
Jerry. Or Gary, Jerry.
Yeah.
No. It's beautiful to be back in Australia with you, and we try to also share the feeling of down under in this webinar. Well, a little thing about myself, of course. I'm the CEO for Assembly Speakers. I launched a community platform last year, bookingwellspeakers.com, and through that connection, through that community, we got our relationship. We built our relationship a few years ago, and the person who made that happen, we have now in our webinar, and we are very happy to have him here and to do this first, and for sure not our last webinar with you. And the good thing is, of course, but you will introduce him in a bit, that I was 20 years ago, I was a backpacker in Australia. And I arrived in Melbourne in January 2000. Yeah, I celebrated the millennium in New Zealand. And it's not only an amazing country, it's also amazing people. And I always say, from the people make the country. And that's the whole difference, what we have to do in this world. And I think there's a little connection, of course, with 20 years, because we never met, of course, but you met, tell us, you met Peter 20 years ago.
Yeah, like it was Peter 20 years ago. Same for me. Like, it's funny how we have a long history with working with guest speakers. So for me, it started 20 years ago with, of course, you were explaining about your father before that. But yeah, for 20 years ago, I was introduced to Peter, and we've remained friends ever since. Somehow we've worked our way through everything that's been thrown at us. But what I love about Peter that is, it just hasn't changed. His enthusiasm for life back then is still the same, probably even more so now. So, and if you were here in 2000, so that was the year we had the Sydney Olympics. So everything was happening in Australia. The whole world was focused on us. And it was an amazing games that we held. And it was great to see so many people come here. And we just got a chance to be ourselves, for people to see how welcoming and friendly we can be. As we're often said, it's a laid-back country. So that's how we treat our people. But yeah, and funny enough, I started our own business last year to connect the speakers and the communities. And then when Peter was the one that brought us together, and I was hesitant at first, I was going, no, who's this Maurice? What do I want to talk to him about? But then after getting to know you, within the 5 minutes, and then after an hour, it was like, I joked that we were like brothers from another mother. I had the same ethics, same ethos, and we just wanted to work with people who want to make the world a better place. And again, it comes back to this connection with our Mr. Peter Thurin for bringing us together, and it's wonderful to make this happen.
Yeah, love it feels all right. We are on the same journey, we are on the same mission. Before we get Peter in, maybe some little explanation about the webinar. You're already using the chat function. Maybe that's most important. Of course, it will be an interactive webinar. You can ask questions whenever you want to ask questions. And most important, button is in the top of your screen. If you're suffering internet problems, just click on that button in the top of your screen, and hopefully it will solve all the problems. If not, just chat it to us. We have a back team behind us, and we will help you. Let's start. Let's do it, Jerry.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll say a little bit about Peter, and we'll bring him in.
Yes.
So what can I say about our great friend who's brought us together? Oh, there he is. There's our man. Well, yeah, what can I say about Peter Thurin? For many years, people have across the globe, people are just panicking. The world's been turned upside down. I've heard it described as like a snow globe, and it's been shaken around, and it's set back down on the desk, and we wait to see how things settle. So for our first webinar, we knew that people needed some positivity. There was people were in crisis, people were concerned. I thought we just need a good dose of positivity. And the first person that came to mind for me was our good friend Peter Thurin. And when I called him up to ask him if he'd be involved, I didn't even get to finish the sentence. He goes, "Of course I would, mate. Of course, count me in." And people loved it. They could feel the enthusiasm, the energy that he brings to the stage. He could bring to the screen. And then here he is. He's brought the two of us together, which is just fantastic. This man has an infectious enthusiasm for life, and it has to be the first man to do this together with us. So welcome, Peter.
Oh, my goodness. Mate, only you and my mother say nice things about me, so I don't know where you're pulling this stuff from, but I'm loving every second. I'd rather just shut up and listen to you talk about me.
Yeah, I knew you would, but that's not likely. Not going to happen.
Well, it was worth a try. Mate, can I tell you honestly, I'm looking at you two boys here, and you both know that my whole philosophy on life is around, I believe that everything is a choice between easy to do and easy not to do. And choosing easy to do means focusing on what you can do rather than on what you can't do. And as we know, it's the first step to achieving anything in your life, but it's also the second step, and the third step, and I think you get the picture. And what really blew me away when Jerry and I have been friends for 20 plus years, and Maurice and I, we just clicked from the first time we chatted, and we caught and we laughed with each other, we've laughed at each other, and I thought, you two boys need to get together. And I know there was a bit of angst at first, but I am cheering for you. I think the collaboration, more from Jerry than from Maurice, clearly. No, that's the absolute truth. But the fact that you've really found a way to make this happen and focus on what you can do, that's the easy to do step as opposed to easy not to do. The easy thing in life is to say no. And what I've learned is that that's the lazy person's easy way out. I say no to something, I don't have to think about it anymore. But sometimes in life you have to challenge yourself and find a way to say yes. And I'm applauding you two boys for finding a way to say yes, because that's why we're all together.
Thanks to you, Peter. Thanks to you.
That's joy.
Yeah.
Absolute joy. I mean, I'm loving every moment of this because, we know that we're stronger together. And I want to take, and I'm in your face, and you know that. I want easy to do, easy not to do to become a global phenomenon. And it's with you two boys that I want to go on this journey. We're on opposite sides of the world now. One of the amazing things about what's going on in the world today is that we wouldn't be doing this had not been some sort of adversity or a challenge or an obstacle. But we clearly now have to think and act differently, which is what we're doing. There's no more complaint, we can't afford the travel, can't afford the accommodation, can't afford the meals. Here we are. We're now global. We can do this anywhere in the world. And how exciting is that?
Absolutely. Very exciting. And look at us being beamed around the world, calling in you from Melbourne there. So, all good. Now, Peter, tell us a little bit about how you got started, how things started for you, because you're in pharmacy. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, my early days, yes, I'm a retail pharmacist. I'm a qualified pharmacist by profession all those years ago. I mean, obviously, the last 20 years I've been traveling the world speaking. But when I first started as a young pharmacist, my first foray into business was a disaster. Now, I'm certainly not comparing that to what's going on in the world today, but I went into a partnership situation and I came out with less money after a number of years than what I'd put in the first place. And as a young, I was 20-something years of age, and as a young boy, for me, my whole world had been turned upside down. I was worried, I was anxious, I was lost. My game had seriously changed. And it's sort of like, a little bit, similar to, what's going on today. And yet I'm really not trying to make the comparison. But there was a way forward. And for me, I had to find that way forward. I had to ask better questions. What do I need to do more? What do I need to do better? Just maybe what do I need to do differently? But I knew for certain I had to get into a game. The game was just going to be different going forward. And that failed partnership gave me an opportunity to start again, only a bit smarter. And I bought my very own pharmacy all by myself after the failed partnership. So that negative, horrible experience, or so I thought. But the interesting thing is you don't know at the time whether it's a positive or a negative experience, because that negative experience I was able to turn into something incredibly positive. And that was to begin again just a little bit smarter and a little bit better. So that's where it all started, my friend Jerry.
I used to think that maybe you had made something for yourself when you're in the pharmacy there, that you were taking that just kept you that up all the time. But no, that's just you naturally, which we love.
No. When you count tablets, it's always one for you and two for me. That's how it works. Okay. No. All above board, all legal drugs. But thanks for sort of asking the question.
Yeah. Peter, Jerry asked me that I had to ask you about Mrs. Parrish. Tell me more about it. Mr. Parrish.
Oh, my golly. Well, that's what happens when you've been friends with somebody for 20 years. Where you pull some of these stories out from, Jerry. Mrs. Parrish. Oh, my golly. Mrs. Parrish was, when I was a student pharmacist, I was 18 or 19. So I was working in a pharmacy, a retail pharmacy in Melbourne, Australia. And beautiful Mrs. Parrish, she was an elderly lady. She would have been maybe 70s, 80. She grabbed me by both of my hands and looked me straight into my eyes and said, Peter, one day, when you buy your very own business, and if I live close enough, I'm going to come and shop with you. I was like 19 years of age, and she loved the way that I looked after her clearly. Can you believe? Failed partnership, coming out of that, buying my very own business. That was 10 years after Mrs. Parrish held my hands. I'd bought a business. I'd been there for less than 1 week. I was in the dispensary dispensing prescriptions, and I looked up, and standing in the doorway was beautiful, beautiful Mrs. Parrish. I dropped everything, ran down to greet her and hug her. She grabbed me once again by both of my hands, as she always did, and she looked me straight in the eye and she said, "Peter, I told you I would." That one act of kindness, that, call it what you like, being honest, being a person of integrity. But in that moment, she made me feel so special. She taught me so much about life, that it's always about the doing. And I know that, I had the great joy of listening to Brian Farley, Maurice webinar that you did just a short while ago. And Brian spoke about the incremental ripple effect. So thank you, Brian. I know you're online tonight as well. And that's exactly what it's about. It's the little things that each of us do consistently over time that leads to massive achievement in our lives. And so much of that came from darling Mrs. Parrish, who unfortunately passed away many years ago. But thank you for asking about Mrs. Parrish.
Beautiful story. Beautiful story.
Oh, beautiful lady.
I love that. Like, you talk about a customer for life, but that's a customer that's firstly set you up in life. That's a gorgeous story. And I'm sure she would have loved it when you can run and dine from behind the counter, when you've got your own store. She would have been so proud of you, and you would just have melted to see her coming in. So that's gorgeous.
No, mate, thank you. Thank you so much for remembering Mrs. Parrish. I will never forget her. But it's those simple things, that any one of us could do, but we tend not to do. And a simple act of kindness, one, it makes you feel so wonderful about yourself, but two, it does have that ripple effect. It compounds as we know. Can I say though, please, and this is really important, that it's not about my stories. I mean, that's what tonight's a little bit about, today's a little bit about, is sharing stories. But please, it's about taking the meaning from those stories and then having the courage to implement those into your own life. And sometimes we feel really awkward and uncomfortable to start something new. But please, don't ever allow awkward and uncomfortable stop you from having the courage to get into a new game and rise to that challenge, whatever the challenges may be. It's always about the doing, and good intentions will never get the job done. You actually have to do something. That one step pushing you in that direction. Is
that the problem with the challenge with most people in the world? So many ideas, but don't know how to start and make that first step.
Yeah, how important is that? Because we do feel awkward and we do feel uncomfortable. I think about that failed partnership, but then it's just being smarter moving forward. I had to ask better questions, getting advice from maybe people who had gone there before me, and having the courage to ask, but to take responsibility. As I said, what do I need to do more? What do I need to do better? What do I need to do differently? But the questions, what new skills do I need? What new knowledge do I need? But the big question I'm asking myself, and even today, and that's the beautiful thing about this collaboration, is who else do I need on my team? For me, I've rebranded and repositioned over the last 12 months with a company called SenseMap, and with these boys, they're re-challenging and refocusing me, and I'm loving it because I've had the courage to finally ask, who else do I need on my team? And that's why I'm saying to Maurice and Jerry, we're on this mission. This is just the beginning for us, but easy to do, easy not to do. We'll become global, and it'll be because of us sharing and collaborating.
Sorry, but I just changed my name. My name is Tom, so it's Tom and Jerry now.
Tom and Jerry. Beautiful. I've been called
Tom and Jerry.
Do you know actually where your name is coming from? Thurin?
My whole family is from Vienna.
Your name means secret. So hope we will discover your secret this hour.
Well, that's beautiful because my wife has a business called Slim Secrets. So there you go. It's just all meant to be.
Yeah, and Maurice is coming from Maurice, my name, and actually I looked that up. It's coming from Mauritius. The more people, it's a Muslim people, a mixture of Arab and Berber people. So long time ago. So in fact, we are Muslim people, Maurice. Jerry.
Oh, there you go. Well,
sorry about it, but your turn, Jerry, to ask a question.
First sure.
Maybe we have questions in the room, so just feel free to ask.
Please just keep them coming. Please, let's keep sharing. Go, Jerry.
Well, it's funny, Peter, there's a lovely segue there where you said team. It's about who you want on your team. But I'm going to take you back a step again, because it's about that taking action. And it was easy for you to say no to this, but it was like two things were a major factor for you. And it was like, you would have been, that pharmacist has been very busy, but you were asked to coach junior football. And I know that's made a big impact on you, because it would have been very easy for you to say, I'm too busy.
Mate, probably the two things really that changed my personal and my professional life were, one, starting martial arts being karate. My martial art was actually taekwondo. And two, was coaching my little boy's junior football team. Now, that little boy is now in his 30s. But just to talk about the martial arts, talk about karate first. I had a dream as an 8-year-old boy to achieve a black belt in karate. As an 8-year-old boy, I thought how cool it would be to be like Bruce Lee. Every little kid wanted a black belt and wanted to be just like Bruce Lee. But it was a dream I had as an 8-year-old boy, but I didn't have the courage to get into the game until I turned 36. And it was a simple phone call that was so easy to do, but I'd been putting it off. It was impossible for me to achieve a black belt between the age of 8 and 36 because I didn't have the courage to get into the game. That, and yes, as you say, Jerry, quite rightfully, saying yes to coaching that same little boy. I started martial arts, I started karate with that little boy and coaching his junior football team. I'm sure other dads were asked first, but as I said before, the easy thing to say, the lazy person's easy way out is to say no. Because once I say no to something, I don't have to challenge myself, I don't have to be creative or innovative and try and bring it to life. And saying yes to that changed my life. And certainly my relationship with that little boy really is, football was massively important. I was absolutely blessed and privileged that he wanted me to do it. But you're right, saying yes to coaching junior football and getting into the game of achieving a black belt taught me so much about life, about setting short-term, mid-term, big picture goals that, get in the game, rise to the challenge, and ultimately to be remarkable. And my definition of remarkable at that point in time was to achieve a black belt in martial arts. Always about, taking that first step. And then the questions again, what do I need to do more? What do I need to do better? What do I need to do differently? This is the whole attitude thing, because the two things that you control 100% are your attitude and your effort. So, mate, thank you. Yes, junior football and a black belt in martial arts, a black belt in karate, turned my life upside down in a really positive way.
Yeah. Well, and just on that, I see there's a question from Nelvis, and it's a good question too, where is it a valid question to ask who I don't want on my team? Sometimes particular players can affect negativity and the whole project. How do you deal with that?
Love it. It's really with the same with easy to do, easy not to do. Sometimes you've got to choose easy not to do, because if we go back one step, the first thing we need to all do is to really focus on what matters most to us. Then it becomes easier to say no. And absolutely true with who you don't want on your team. But that's really a discussion for a different day around culture. But I do know that my success when I bought the new pharmacy, the one that Mrs. Parrish came to shop with me, really, I bought a pharmacy in an area in Melbourne where it was incredibly competitive. I had a small boutique business taking on the biggest brands in Australia, and we knocked them off. We knocked them off because we genuinely cared about people. We built a team of people that we worked together to create an environment that brought the best out in those people. My greatest skill set, and I was fabulous at it, was unlocking the door in the morning. I was seriously good at it. Throw the doors open and then watch my team of people bring my business to life. And yeah, if you weren't a fit for that team, you were off. And what happened was my young team members, the young ladies on my team, they became the gatekeepers of the culture that they wanted. My greatest role was high-fiving and chest bumping and cheering for them, and we created environments that brought the best out in our people. Really important as to who's on the team and who's not on the team. Great question.
Yeah, and I remember like bringing up something with Morris is that about a negative comment and just negativity. And Morris said to me straight away, don't worry about negative people and negative comments. There's nothing you can do about it. And I've heard you many times, Peter, said,
who is Morris? Sorry, who is Morris?
Maurice.
Oh, Tom. I'll just call you Tom from here on in. The Tom and Jerry show. But yeah, I've heard you many times, Peter, saying, don't let negative people drag you down.
No, because Jerry, the key is this. We don't always get to choose what happens to us, but we do get to choose how we respond to that. There's a beautiful little formula, and I've stolen it from somebody I so wish I knew who to give credit to. E plus R equals O. Tonight is an event. How you respond to tonight will lead to an outcome. I like to use that formula back to front and be clear as to what outcome that I want. And if I want to be happy, healthy, vibrant, enthusiastic, then I can't allow the negative nonsense of other people to impact on me. That doesn't mean that I don't take criticism. It doesn't mean that, that I don't accept feedback and ask how I can do it maybe better, differently. But I don't want the negative nonsense of people to impact on what I'm going to bring to the world or the influence I hope that I can have in a positive way. You do get to choose your response. You don't always get to choose the event.
Is a reason why a lot of people are negative? Is a reason why they like to spread the negativity?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I mean, obviously the answer to that's yeah. They're out there. Mm-hmm. I just choose. I don't want to listen to it. I mean, and I'm not so flippant or so special. There's nothing special about me. I hear it. We're on board with it. But I know, I can't talk about me. I know that a positive me is more effective, more productive, more efficient than a negative me. And that's not rah, rah, rah positive. I am optimistic. I do believe that the future is going to be better than what is happening right now. But I also understand that I have to take responsibility for that. It's not about waiting for something to happen. It's about me taking, absolute responsibility for what I bring to the table. And these are choices that we make, by the way, Maurice. You talk about negative people. I'm focused on what I can do rather than what I can't do. And I can't control the attitude of anybody else. But as I said, the two things I control 100% are my effort and my attitude.
Yeah. In my experience, what you see now because of the lockdown, people become more human again, more open, more giving again, and it's beautiful to see. And you know a bit about me, of course. My goal, my mission is to improve the humanity in the world, and I talk more in we than in I, and for me it's very important to have fun together, to have a laugh. And how do you see that with everyone needs someone to laugh with?
Look, it was a throwaway line. I remember in that pharmacy where dear Mrs. Parrish shopped, I was working 24/7. I'd bought that business. I'd come out of a failed partnership, as I said, and the banks owned my business. And I was working 7 days a week, and we worked every single day for the first 3 or 4 years. I can tell you my fuse was very, very short. And I finally brought in a 65-year-old pharmacist to help me out on a Wednesday afternoon. And I remember a lady returned a lipstick to me, and she said to me, "I've never used it and I want to exchange it." Well, it was half gone and there was no box. She was clearly lying to me, and I was getting really serious about this. I took the lipstick because my answer was yes to everybody. And when I walked into the dispensary, there was a 65-year-old male pharmacist in the fetal position, rolling on the floor, laughing his head off. And I said to him, "What's so funny?" And he said, "That lady was clearly lying to you and you're taking it all so seriously." And watching this grown man rolling on the floor, I burst into fits of laughter. And I realised that day that everybody needs somebody to laugh with. Otherwise we take things so seriously and we're so sensitive if somebody says something that we don't like to us. And then when you share that with a friend or a colleague or a family member and they laugh, and then you find yourself laughing too. Everybody needs somebody to laugh with. It doesn't have to be quite so serious.
We must more laugh with And
have fun. We can be successful and have fun.
we much more laugh with, but not at each other.
Absolutely.
I have a question from Stephen. I love your insights, Peter. He said, can you tell me if you have a daily routine that keeps you positive and full of happiness? Beautiful question.
Oh, wow. So Steve, was it?
Stephen, yeah.
Stephen, mate. Do me a favor, connect with me on LinkedIn, everyone, because we're going to share ideas and stories and inspiration moving forward. And just that sort of question tells me a little bit about you straight away, my friend. Yeah, interestingly enough, I start every day. All I use Twitter for is to put a positive quote every day, because that means I have to start my day looking for something that resonates with me and then share it. If it resonates with you, fantastic. And if not, push it away. Another one's coming tomorrow. Exercise is really important. As I said before, what I've learned in my later years, more than the earlier years, is to really focus on what matters most to me. So I'm really mindful that my health and fitness matters, because I have to look after me first to take care of the people who I love and who I care about. So exercise is a part of every day. Like cleaning my teeth, it's just what I do. I love my family. I'm a husband, father, grandfather. I love my family. It's so important. These are the non-negotiables in my life. I love having fun. All these things matter. So the rest is now becoming easy to push away if it's taking me away from the things that matter most to me. So my routine is I start with something positive. I exercise first thing in the morning. Make it happen. And can I just, to that point, and I hope this is relevant to you as well, I have a beautiful man. His name is Johnny, and I've been very spoilt going to conferences around the world. Johnny picks me up. He's a limousine driver. He's a beautiful human being the same age as me. But he has a very, very big tummy. And his tummy doesn't fit easily under the steering wheel of his car. And he looks at my tummy and he looks at his tummy and he realizes that his tummy is much bigger than my tummy. And he can't quite work out because I don't have time to exercise. Well, no, he doesn't have an hour a day, but he does have 5 or 6 lots of 10 minutes a day. Even if he did 3 times 10 minutes a day, that's 30 minutes a day, 210 minutes a week, 10,920 minutes a year. That's 182 hours of exercise if he just gets out and walks 3 times, 3 lots of 10 minutes a day. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. You see another question? Do you that, Jerry?
Yeah, that was Carola.
Yes.
Have I got that right? Sure. Carola? Sorry, Carola. Yeah, right. Peter, Carol is asking, what is your advice about people acting nonchalantly? That's what I've always said, nonchalance about regarding the lockdown, and not taking social distancing seriously.
Well, it's just common sense tells us, let's just behave, let's come through this, together. That's the point. And this is focusing on what you can do rather than what you can't do. It's so easy just to play by the rules. Unfortunately, all I want to do is hug and kiss my little grandchildren, my parents, my in-laws. These are people 90 and late 80s who I love. I want to hug and kiss them. But the sooner we come out of this and just behave, social distancing, not a great term as we know, but just play by the rules, basic hygiene, washing hands. These are things that we should be doing anyway. People who are nonchalant, really silly.
Silly. It is silly. And just to go back on a positive side and come back to what Maurice was saying, or Tom, I shall call him from now on. As Tom was saying, it's like what's bringing us together. This is a mad time. But I love how we're looking out for each other. Neighbors who maybe don't normally speak, and I'm making sure that they're being looked after. I got told a beautiful story just last night where Donna's, my wife's auntie in Scotland, has coronavirus, right? And she's had it for about 4 to 5 weeks now. And she said it's the worst thing she's ever gone through. It's tough, and she could feel the breathing here. And I think she's in her mid-70s, something like that. So it was doing it real tough. But a nice thing that I got told last night, there was a new young couple moved into the house next door. There was neighbors who were there for like 30 odd years and they had moved and the house was empty. But those young ones have come in there and they've gone, we need your phone number, anything you need. and they're putting slips under the door, just checking in all the time. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, those are not playing by the rules. Shame. But, you know, the good that's coming out of it has been amazing.
Well, mate, can I tell you, a quote from Desmond Tutu, okay? So I'm writing a new book with my friend Brett from SenseMap, the A to Z. It's the first in the series of Easy to Do. And this beautiful quote on kindness from Desmond Tutu. Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. Now, these things are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. And we've got to make a decision as to what outcomes we want. What do we want the world to look like? What are you going to do? What are you going to do more, better, differently? Are you prepared to get into the game and rise to the challenge? And I call it a game because understand that this time of adversity now, there will be other times in our lives where we'll go through adversity, where we will be challenged. And we need to really focus, on what I can do rather than what I can't do. And it's always choosing to take that first step to get into the game. And that's easy to do. That's also easy not to do. Mate, that's a beautiful story. We need to collect great stories and share them. And that's why I'm inviting people to, invite me to connect on LinkedIn, because that's what we'll do. That's what brought us together, for goodness sakes. Mm-hmm. It's through that platform. And if we're putting out great positive stories around easy to do and what I've chosen to do and the impact on people, then we're going to learn and grow together. I'll say it again. It's not about my stories. It's how you take the meaning from the stories and have the courage to bring them to life.
Before we go into Bradley has a question. You are saying we have to learn with each other, from each other. Of course, we do it for the next generation, for our children, for our. What can we learn from children at the moment? Because.
Look, I got the most beautiful little video from my little granddaughter the other day. She calls me Papa, and she made me feel like a rock star. So easy to do, but if you ask me about kids, look, there's inspiration all around us. I just shared 2 quick stories with you about my kids. I know that's very self-indulgent, but remember, it's not about my stories. My youngest son, when he was playing football, he was only 8 or 9 years of age, he broke his arm. I thought he'd broken his arm at the end of a game of football. So I took him to the doctor. The arm was extra.
On the rules, football or soccer? For the
Australian rules football, but I'll just call it football for the sake of the story. But yeah, no, good question. I thought he'd broken his arm, so I took him to the doctor. It was x-rayed, and sure enough, it was broken. His little arm, 8 years of age, was put into plaster all the way from his shoulder to his wrist. As you can imagine, the drive home was a little bit quiet. When out of the silence, from nowhere, he turns to face me and he says, "Dad." I said, "Yes, mate." "What?" He said, "Dad." I said, "Yes, mate." He said, "I am such a lucky boy." I thought, wow, he's just broken his arm. Where's he going with this? I said, tell me more. He said, "Dad, the doctor just said I can't play football for 6 weeks. I said, "I know." I said, "Well, where are you going with this?" He said, "Well, Dad, that means I can play the last game of the season." This little boy's mind was totally focused on what he could do, not on what he couldn't do. What an extraordinary lesson for life, that little mind working on can do versus can't do. And one other little kid story, my daughter, her name is Mel, excuse me. As a little girl, she now is a mum with 3 beautiful little kiddies, my little grandchildren. But as a little girl, she always wanted a dog. And I didn't grow up with dogs. And to be honest with you, I think I was scared of dogs. And she used to beg with me, "Daddy, please can we have a dog?" The answer was no. "Daddy, please can we have a dog?" The answer was no. "Daddy, no." Then one day I went out to the letterbox, the mailbox, to collect the mail. And between 2 envelopes was a little note that simply said, "Dear Mel's dad, please," underlined, "can Mel have a dog? Signed, God." My little girl has gone to the highest authority that she knew. And guess what happened after we got that note? We got a dog. And my little girl taught me to love that dog for the next 15 years. And when that dog passed away, my little girl's father was an absolute cot case, an absolute sook, couldn't stop crying. So there you go. There's inspiration all around us, but it's how we take that inspiration and have the courage to implement into our lives, moving from inspiration to application. It's always about the doing.
Yeah, we can learn more from children than from adults.
So beautiful. Thank you for asking me. I could talk about my kids and my grandkids all day, but again, it's not about me, it's not about my stories, but how you take the meaning from those stories.
Bradley has a question. What part of your book, Black Belt in Excellence, do you like the most?
Well, Black Belt in Excellence is where I was. As I said, I've rebranded and repositioned now. So Black Belt in Excellence, the Black Belt was part of the easy to do, easy not to do story. Excuse me. There is a story in that book, though, that I like very much because it came from somebody else. A friend of mine, when he read the book, he said to me, Peter, there's one story in particular that I love in your book. And I said, what's that? He said, actually, it's 6 words. And I said, what are they? He said, you tell a story and there's 6 words. I said, what are they? And he said, there's a story that you tell that you had a wife, 3 children, 3 pharmacies, but when you were training for your black belt in karate, that out of necessity, you used to train at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I said, that's true. He said, the 6 words are, I always got out of bed. Whether it's rain, hail or shine. If it is to be, it's up to me. I know that's somebody else's line. But whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning, so I've never forgotten that it resonated so strongly with this man. I asked him, why does that story resonate so strongly with you? He says, because I don't always get out of bed. When the sun's shining, I'm up and out. But if it's windy or it's a day that doesn't suit me, I'm a sometimes person. So we spoke about excellence being an all-the-time thing, not a sometimes thing. We spoke about the difference between being interested in achieving your goals versus being committed. The non-negotiables, to get into the game and rise to the challenge. There will be challenges. What new skills do I need? What new knowledge do I need? Who else do I need on my team that I can go shoulder to shoulder with to help me bring my goals to life so I can work with them to bring their goals to life? I always got out of bed. Take responsibility, please.
And it's great. That's a lovely lead into, because there is challenges ahead. And I love the question from Lawrence. Lawrence has just said she totally agrees with the positivity that in the mindset that the lockdown has created. What advice can we keep giving for when things go back to a new normal?
Yeah, we're not sure what it's going to be, are we? The new normal, but we know things are going to be different. You know, the world has been turned upside down, but there is a way forward. The game's changed. I look. My heart bleeds for families who have lost, loved ones. I mean, it's awful. I mean, how else do you describe it? And people who financially, but as you know, the world of a speaker, my diary went from looking really attractive for 2020 to any day you asked me, was I available? The answer was yes. So, again, I don't always get to control the event, but I have to take responsibility for how I respond. I don't know what that world is going to look like, but I do know that if ever it needed to be reinforced, I love what I do. I want to take easy to do, easy not to do. I want it to become global. I want to go with people who I have massive respect for, Jerry and Maurice, and people who I receive and I hope give joy working with. So the decisions, but please stay focused on what matters most to you, whatever the outcome. Let's be, this is not nice to people just through this time. Genuinely care about human beings, family members, friends, and the little acts of kindness outside of that where people maybe don't even know. But you know what, the really selfish thing about doing an act of kindness is it makes you feel pretty good about yourself as well. And if you call that selfish, that's not a bad selfish. Do it anyway. And we accumulate these acts of kindness. Pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, and just going back to Lawrence there, and I love it, Peter. It is that we have to keep going. We just have to keep looking after community. We have to keep looking after the elderly. We have to keep looking after our neighbors and our family. And we just need to keep making that effort a bit more. Just a quick share, I'll go for one here. But it's we had Anzac Day here recently. Now, our lockdown is not quite as bad as it is in Europe, so we can still interact a fair bit with our neighbors. And going back to even using the kids. So across the road from us, there's 3 children. One age is 9 and 2 twins at 6. They are adorable. They've got their little voices. Hi, Joey. I don't know. Love them to bits. I'm sure their parents aren't so sure about that. But we had a little thing where they couldn't go to McDonald's. So we made our own McDonald's. I started making like bacon and egg muffins or sausage and egg muffins. And then they would bring their till over and then give the parents fake money. So they had to buy the muffins. And we had a ball. And it's just doing more of that. What we can do.
Share these stories, Jerry. We need to share these stories. That's the whole point of this. That's what I'm saying. Let's connect, because to share ideas and stories and inspiration. I know it's not about rah-rah. It's about the doing. It's about motion. But let me say, whatever the rest of the world is doing doesn't excuse you for not taking responsibility. Focus on what you can do. This is about, what do I need to do more? What do I need to do better? What do I need to do differently? Not pointing fingers at what somebody else or isn't doing. This is about what I'm prepared to take responsibility for. It's what I choose to do, not somebody else. I'll say it again. I control my effort and my attitude 100%, not somebody else's.
Yeah. Peter, we are talking about a game to live. What is it? An infinite game? What kind of game do we have to play in the new world? How do you think?
Well, that's I think what you're referring to. That sort of that growth type mindset versus being fixed. Yeah, look, please understand too. Honestly, I'm a work in progress. I catch myself out plenty of times. I can talk about playing the infinite game, and talking to you two boys. I just think you guys are an amazing story. I don't think people actually know really just how important this is and the fact that even your businesses, Book Speakers Direct, Jerry's business and Booking World Speakers, just the names are similar and your actual names are similar. There's such a wonderful story. If it is to be, you've got to take responsibility. We're going shoulder to shoulder on this, guys. I've already got you on notice. That's the game we're playing. We're in a new game right now. The world has changed and it's given us this opportunity. So are we focused on the things that we can't do, or are we focused on the things that we can do? Our discussions are so different today to what we were talking about even a couple of months ago. Maurice, Jerry, you think about our discussions.
Yeah.
But if we're truly in this together in the days when you're feeling down and you think that calling Peter would help, then ring me. Otherwise, I'll knock you out. Because if I'm feeling a little bit down and I need to be picked up, I hope you take my phone call as well. We're either in this together or we're not. And let me tell you something. Having traveled the world speaking at conferences, there's a lot of BS. There's a lot of rhetoric inside conference rooms. But the greatest frustration that companies have all around the world is they go to conference with good intention, but I'll say it again, good intentions will never get the job done. You actually have to do something. It's what our listeners, what our viewers tonight do after this webinar. It's the choices that we make. What do you choose to bring to life? And doing nothing is a choice. Doing nothing is a choice. Don't leave the great stuff behind. And if there's nothing precious about me, I'm just seriously an ordinary person. I haven't won gold medals or climbed mountains. It's embracing the philosophy of easy to do versus easy not to do and aligning yourself with people who you would genuinely enjoy going on this journey together with. For me, that's the fun, that's the power. It's about the collaboration. But I'm responsible for what I bring to the table. Don't forget that. So are you two, boys.
Yeah. So I did a question, Manon. Have you ever decided to do something that did not turn out too well? How did you deal with that afterwards?
Well, my first foray into business was a disaster for me. I gave 6 years of my life to that pharmacy. That was my first effort. All the money I had was gone. But it's how you respond. I'll say it again. At the risk of comparing it to today's world, my world had been turned upside down. I was like all over the place. My self-esteem was smashed. If I had listened to my mum and my dad earlier, I probably wouldn't have made the mistakes. But some things you need to experience for yourself. I think it's called failing forward. Not making the same mistakes over and over again, making new ones along the way. And I've made plenty. But that's about the doing. And you only make mistakes by having the courage to get into the game. So, yeah, made lots. I can tell you, trying to get a black belt in martial arts, a black belt in karate. I put my head in the wrong place plenty of times and it got knocked off. You learn very quickly, stop putting your head in a place where it might get hit. there's a great way to learn a lesson. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I was talking about the game, of course, but the game of fun. I see it that way, of course. It's not a game to win. We must do it together. Mario, I understand Mario in the chat. It's no game, but it's a fun journey to start with. I think we have to live our own lives and commit to what we feel is right.
Is that from Mario? Yeah, good. Yes, mate. I'll say it again. The starting point is to focus on what matters most to you. Such an important starting point. You know, I hear people tell me that their health and fitness matters to them, and they're the ones that have got double portions of bacon and hash browns, and then they go and get triple dessert. There's a bit of a disconnect. Or people that tell me how much they love their family, but they'd rather go to the pub and have a few extra beers with their mates than go home for story time with their children. Again, there's a disconnect. It's not trying to convince me, look at me. No, you need to take responsibility. Be clear on what matters most to you. They become your non-negotiables, and bring them to life. And wherever you are, be there. You know, story time, be at story time. And then when you're looking at the proposal on your desk, then focus on that. But wherever you are, be there. Really be in the moment and bring it to life.
Yeah, to talk about collaboration, of course. From the very first minute, it felt right between us, you Peter, and me. With the very first minute, it felt right with Jerry. It's a feeling. It's sometimes also intuition, and also sometimes feels not right with people.
Yeah. And I've got it wrong plenty of times too. You know, when I'm putting my teams to answer the team's question before my pharmacies, you know, the thing that I'm proudest of in all my years of owning pharmacies is the length of time people stayed with me, because that's not about me. That's about what we created together. But I got it very right, and there were times when I got it very wrong. And hopefully you just get smarter as you go, and you have the courage to bring other people into your decision making. 4 words that served me really well in my time in pharmacy when speaking to my team of people. Before I gave them my opinion, I would ask them, what do you think? What do you think? And truly listen to them. And I just got better at engaging and getting guidance and advice and ideas and stories from the young people on my team. Really, so inspiring. But I'll say it again, it's moving from inspiration to application. Please, it's always about that doing.
Yeah, but what's the next step? I think maybe Jerry agrees with them. We are living in this event and speaking industry. A lot of people are asking questions. And for me, I want to help the world. So when everybody asks me something, I want to help him. And I agree that's the same focus that Jerry has. But still, a day only has 24 hours. And sometimes you feel at the end of the day, oh, I missed the best part, and I had to take another step, and I had to better say no to that people. What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, look, I read a wonderful book recently, which a wonderful friend of mine, PJ, I think he's online tonight as well. And the whole concept of this book was about being better at less. So again, it's what's essential in pushing the stuff away. It's okay to say no. Easy to do, easy not to do is also, I'll say it again, about focusing on what matters most to you and bringing that to life. And we don't know. Look, Rob on board tonight. You know, we're looking at a collaboration through Jerry. It's through Maurice. We're going on a journey. We're just thinking, but it's not just about thinking differently. It's thinking and doing. It's not rah rah rah. You know, we've spoken. I'm giggling because I'm looking at Jerry there. We were having a bit of a laugh earlier today about positive affirmations. You know, people saying, you know, it's not about positive affirmations. I'm not saying they don't have a place, but to say, I will get a parking spot. I will get a parking spot. I will get a parking spot. Well, get in your car first, for goodness sakes. You know, give yourself a chance of getting the parking spot. It doesn't matter how many times I say to you boys, I will win the men's singles final at Wimbledon this year. I will win the men's singles final at Wimbledon. No, I won't. And not just because Wimbledon's been cancelled. I probably wouldn't win it anyway. So it's also about being realistic, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Jerry, we don't hear you.
We've lost him.
Maybe you have to go offline and online again. That works.
I've actually always... No, we can't hear him. I've always wanted to silence him. This is actually great joy. You see, there really is a God, because now Jerry's gone and still can't hear him. It's a beautiful thing. No, look, positive affirmations have a place, definitely, but it's always about doing, not just about I will. It's actually about taking action.
Yeah.
Did that answer the question, Maurice? I wasn't sure whether that was answering the question, but
I'm sure a lot of people have that. I saw it in my recent webinars. It's hard to say no to people. It's very hard to say no to people, but it's human that we always like to say yes, but then we lost on our way. And of course, you're telling stories. We connect with stories. Humans are connected with stories. And it's Mario, beautiful. Thank you for all your chat. It's about collaboration. It's about connections. It's about so many C's in our life. And of course, more go for that deeper relationship. Take time for one another.
Love it. It's about, as you and I have spoken about, and the reason why you and I connected in the very first place, because we both had the feeling that we both genuinely cared. And it wasn't just, cared about what we bring to the table in our own lives, but care about each other. But also, too, to be able to, there's a bigger world, and for us to be able to, because we're in a very privileged position, and if we can do something for people not as fortunate, for me, I'm passionate about kids, and I'd love to think that, we'll turn this into something commercial, and that is important because it gives us options, and part of those options are about doing things, I hope, for little people in this world, so we can make life a little bit easier, a little bit better. That's one of the privileges that we have. And yeah, look, for me, it's a really challenging time as a speaker. But I know this sounds a bit funny, possibly, but I've never been as excited about the world of the speaker as I am right now, whether it's through collaboration, whether it's looking at myself, but also making sure that I really stick to what matters most to me. I don't want to just talk about it. My family matters to me. My health and fitness matters to me. My community matters to me. Genuinely caring matters to me. Having fun matters to me. So...
Even Jerry matters to me, because I hope it's working. His sound is working again. For sure. Yes? No?
No, we've lost him. What a shame.
You can use it. You can use it. But
he's an absolute star, because both he and Donna, who I've known for 20 years, and I just love the fact that they've actually had the courage now to really embrace what we're doing in this collaboration. I'll say it again, Book Speakers Direct and Booking World Speakers. I'm cheering for you both, clearly, and I want to be a part of this journey. I want you to be a part of mine. That's where the power is, and that's where the fun is too, as we've said. I hope tonight's been valuable to our friends. As I said, connect with me on LinkedIn. That way we stay connected and we share ideas and stories. The A to Z of Easy to Do will be available soon. And again, it's only the first in the series. I'm learning from this, and I think it's really important. And just to your point about me being a positive person, my friend Brett, he knows who he is, refers to me as annoyingly enthusiastic. I'll say that because Jerry Morris laughs every time I say that, and he can't talk now because we can't hear him. But I think Jerry Morris spends a fair bit of his time laughing at me, not necessarily with me, and I love him for it, just quietly. You can't say a thing, we can't hear him. Maurice, thank you so much, my friend. This has been amazing.
We are the last couple of minutes. I really hope that we hear Jerry try to do it again. Turn on your audio, because are there any more questions in the chat?
If they're not, while you're looking for that question, I'm just going to say one more time that honestly, for me, everything in life is a choice between easy to do and easy not to do. And choosing easy to do means focusing on what you can do rather than on what you can't do. And what I've learned in my journey around the world is that the best in the world, the best companies, organizations, individuals, franchises, learn to find it easy to do the things that others find it easy not to do. Get into the game, rise to the challenge. Look at the things that you can do more, look at the things you can do better, look at the things that you can do differently, and have as much fun as you possibly can and bring people along for the ride. There's so much more joy in doing that.
Yeah. Last couple of remarks, takeaways for the people who just joined, and of course, I would love to do this again with you both. So give me a last shot. How to get in the game, how to rise to the challenge today.
Yeah, look, it's a choice. It's always about the doing. Take that small step and feel really good about yourself. It's not about being fit and healthy. It's about 2 sit-ups and 2 push-ups. 2 sit-ups and 2 push-ups today turns into 3 tomorrow, turns into 5, and all of a sudden you start moving in the direction of the goals that you say that are important. Get into the game, 2 sit-ups and 2 push-ups. If it's the family game or somebody where you've had that fractured relationship, somebody, make the phone call, send somebody a message saying, I love you, I'm thinking of you, I care about you. It's so easy to do, it's so easy not to do. And you have the power of choice. Read something new and different, put something positive into your system and share it with somebody. Again, it's moving from inspiration to application, but it's always about the doing, focusing on what you can do, not on what you can't do, and bringing it to life. Bringing it to life. Easy to do versus easy not to do.
Right.
Maurice, I'm going to say before, because I know you're going to close this up in a moment, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for coming on board today. But to you, my friend, and to Jerry and Donna Morris, I hope you can feel the hug. I know at the moment we're distancing, but I really hope you can feel the hug. I love you for doing this, and we're just getting started. I want as many people along for this ride as possible, my friend, but doing it with you is a joy.
Yeah, Jerry is coming in, so I hope the sound is now working. It's the digital thing, of course, and some things are easy to do, some things are easy not to do. Does it work, Jerry? Not really. Then you can use the chat to say goodbye to everyone, or maybe you still have a question for Peter. Thank you, guys. Thank you everything. Thank you, 𝒃𝒐𝒌𝒆𝒄𝒔. Beautiful to do this for the first time. Thank you, Peter, of course.
Been a joy.
Bring us in, the 3. Just smile to the camera and
thank you.
We will do that very soon again.
Any questions we can answer afterwards as well, with pleasure. With pleasure. Nothing precious about us.
Love to have this side of the world connected with Down Under, and I have still good stories about the Down Under bar. Maybe people know that, but okay, leave it that way. Well, our next Power webinar will be on Tuesday. On Tuesday already, a little bit later than what we normally do. It's not at 10 a.m., but at 4 a.m. We move from Australia down under to the other side of the world, to Canada. We have 2 beautiful, amazing other new creatures, and I hope you will join, although I don't know what the time it will be in Australia. But it will be the Unstoppable Tracy with former Lieutenant General 𝒃𝒐𝒌𝒆𝒄𝒔 from the Netherlands. And we brought exactly 1 week after the Dutch Liberation Day, Canada back again into the Netherlands. We are talking about the Invictus Games, where 𝒃𝒐𝒌𝒆𝒄𝒔 is the chairman of the Invictus Games. It's originally supposed to organize in the Netherlands, but although because of this coronavirus, it will be postponed to next year, May, and it will be the Invictus meets the Unstoppable in that webinar. And next Thursday at 10 o'clock, another webinar, and we just try to inspire, motivate, and help each other with positive stories. That's all what we wanted to do, and let's do it together. Thank you, people, for joining us. And it was great to keep Jerry's silence at the last couple of minutes. But I think maybe next time he can do this, and everybody understands him. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.